Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We're your hosts, Karan and Kristen. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble.
Today, we are chatting with Shaina Fried. Shaina has taken bold actions in her life and has chosen to step outside of the cultural norm that she grew up in. She chose to take control over her own life rather than follow what everyone else in her community was doing. And now she's inspiring others to take actions of their own to choose their own course through life. So, Shaina, we're excited to be talking with you today.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. So we'd love for you to weave us a tale. Take us on your journey. How your life, you can start wherever. I just said life as if you should start from birth, but start wherever. And yeah, weave us a tale of like how you got to where you are today. How did your pirate journey begin?
Thanks. Well, first I was born, and not sure what happened after that. But from what I can remember, so I grew up in a very religious community, Jewish, Orthodox, and basically, our lives were kind of micromanaged by rules that, like, it was relayed to me that the rules were given to us by God, who will reward us if we do them and will punish us if we don't. So that already, to tell a little kid, is like very confusing. It's like life is one big like sticker chart, and it's not just like you don't get a sticker. It's like you go to hell if you don't wear skirts or wear high colored shirts or something like that. And so yeah, I was like very confused. And my parents, they didn't really understand my confusion because they're more like by the book type, and it didn't bother them as much. They were just like, what do you mean? Like, God loves me, like this is fine, like I'm gonna raise my children like this. And yeah, so it didn't really bother them. And also I have 4 older siblings, and they are also more of like the quieter, more meek personality, and they just like stroll along on down the road. And so then when I was born, like, yeah, they just didn't know how to respond to my personality, which is a little bit louder and more creative and more like individualist. So then I started rebelling, which just means wearing jean pants on at like 8 years old. And my mom got very worried, like, oh my gosh, Shayna's wearing pants, like what are we gonna do? Like she's like at risk. And yeah, she like spoke to a lot of people about it. And so I mean, I I was told as a child, like the old Shayna was like so much better. Like, why can't you be like the old Shayna then? And I was like on the one hand, like I want to wear pants because it makes me feel good, and on the other hand, like I need my parents' approval because I'm an 8-year-old kid, and I need my community's approval. So at the end, like that won out, and I was like, okay, so I guess I'll just do what they want because then they'll be happy with me. So that that led down the road to me ultimately getting really depressed, and I didn't know why. So like I turned into like a good Jewish Orthodox role model, and I wore my skirts and I prayed every day and kept kosher and Shabbat and everything. And even like I wasn't just like regular, like since I was kind of doing it for approval, I was like putting all of my like needy energy into it, because I didn't have like any healthy outlets for it. So I went like all extreme in I went all extreme in the religion sense, like even more than they like asked for. So I would like follow all the tiny little rules and like ask tons of questions and like do more than everybody else because like I really like I was looking for myself, but that was the only way that I was taught to go find yourself. Like they told me like if you do a mitzvah, then you'll be happy. And then I was like, I want to be happy. So I did the mitzvahs. And then I remember telling my teacher from high school, like, I'm doing the mitzvahs. Why am I not happy? And she just looked at me because she was like 19. So yeah. Yeah, she just looked at me and she's like, it's a good question. You should ask somebody. Yeah. So yeah, so then in high school I tried so hard to fit my life, fit my personality into the life that I was brought up in. And because I love my parents and I love my family and I don't want to disappoint them. And like you hear stories of like, you know, kids who, well, I heard stories of kids who like went off the path of Orthodox Judaism and like, oh, it's so sad. They're like out there being secular and like they don't have God and it's like so sad and like whatever, like all these closed-minded generalizations about a lot many people. And I was like, I don't want to be one of those people. Like I want to be successful and like and this is what they're telling me is successful. So I mean, I want to be good and I want to be happy. So yeah. So high school. It's really bad. Yeah. I'm kind of stuck.
Get stuck. So you're you are in high school. You're asking questions about how to be happy. How did you get the answer to how you get happy? How did you start breaking free from what you grew up believing or hearing? Not even believing necessarily, but hearing is the right thing to do.
Right. Thank you. So first of all, I did believe it. Like I did
Okay.
take it to heart.
Mm.
And also so it didn't happen in high school. In high school, like I asked questions and then I received answers that I accepted, but it didn't improve improve my life. But I accepted that this is the way these people are telling me. And so I don't really have another choice because this is like the word of God. Like they're telling me the word of God. And so while I was in high school, I was still in this bubble of like, I was only around Jewish Orthodox people. I was never around anybody else. Like the only other people was like people who came to work for maintenance or something. And like they weren't Jewish. So it wasn't until after high school that so I graduated, and then I also like part of being religious was like the less sexual you are, the better. And the less you're in touch with your sexuality, the better. Especially when you're like in high school and you're not married yet, so you don't have to meet outlet. So another way that the religion became unhealthy for me was that since I had nowhere to put my sexual energy, which I have a lot of, and especially because I'm a creative person, I'm an expressive person. So I put it into religion, and I put it into relationships that like I built with my teachers. And I mean, there was nothing, let me clarify. There's nothing sexual that went on with my teachers. But what I meant was like the attention. I needed the attention and I needed the approval, that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became like in an unhealthy way, like reliant on their approval. And it was like kind of too much for them. They couldn't really handle it. So I always ended up getting hurt. But I had nowhere else to put my sexual energy. So I always like looked to after high school as the time where I'll be happy because I'll be able to get married.
Mm-hmm.
So like because I wasn't thinking of leaving the community or anything. So if I'm not going to leave the community, the only thing I can do is get married so that I can have sex because nothing else is going to allow for that. And typically, in my community, girls get married like 19, 20, 21, like that age. And like even 18 is a little bit young in my community, but right after high school, when I was 18, I was like, okay, I have to get married now. And I was like, and I'm going to be happy now because I'm not in school. And obviously that didn't happen. Thank God none of them. So yeah, I graduated and then I told my mom that I would like her to start looking for me because that's how it is. You'd like either like your mom talk to someone else's mom or you can go to a matchmaker, but like it's very indirect. Anyway, so I tried that for a little bit and it didn't work for me because I'm not the kind of person who wants to sit around waiting for somebody to find my happiness. But I just didn't realize that. So I just like after I graduated and I tried out this thing that was supposed to work and I was miserable. Like I had to take like a real look at myself and be like, so like this is like life now is something that I have to control. Like my principals and my teachers, like they were always like taking control for me because they didn't trust us as children to take control of our own lives. So they didn't train us well. So I had to be like, this is my choice. And even before I said to myself, this is my choice, I was already like sneaking things that like really weren't, like religiously correct in my community. Like I was hanging out with guys, and which is like really bad. Or like hanging out with guys alone is also bad. Like you're not allowed to be alone with a guy. And I started wearing like skirts that were shorter. Like, it has to be below your knees. So mine was like in the middle of my, but like people will look at you and be like, she wears skirts that are in middle of her knees. So she's not that religious. So I started doing things like that. And then I also became a teacher for a little bit, in like a religious school. And I started feeling guilty for like putting on this front that like, oh yeah, I'm a religious teacher, even though I wasn't teaching religious studies, but I'm a teacher in a religious school. And here I am like hanging out with guys and like doing things that they don't think is right or whatever. So, so then I quit. And then after I quit, I decided to start just going fully like upfront about it. I started wearing pants, wearing short sleeves, wearing like whatever I want, honestly. And I was still in my pink house while I was doing this. And it was really hard because it killed them. And they were like horrified. And also my block is the block that my parents live on. So really religious. So like if I would walk out and said, they would just be like, whoa, like what's up? Like, what's going on? So yeah, that was really difficult. But I decided that it was really important for me because I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I tried, I gave it 100%. Like I tried to live in your world and I just can't do it. And now I have to flip everything upside down. And um, yeah, so um, can you get another question? Like a prompt?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm wondering if there, with all of these years of really trying to fit into the community, was there actually like a pivotal moment where you were like, no, I'm going to wear what I want. I'm going to like put it out there and be more open about what I want to do? Was there something, was it gradual or was something like just specific that happened that changed your outlook?
Right. Okay. So yeah, it's a great question. I think that even a pivotal moment always has something gradually leading up to it.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it was gradual, um, in in terms of how I was raised and how I was miserable, that kind of thing. But I think the pivotal moment was when like I felt the hypocrisy. Um, I was teaching in a school that was religious, and I had to wear um, things that I wouldn't wear on my own, and dress like a teacher, and at the same time I was like out hanging out with guys, which like for me was like I felt so guilty about, especially walking around looking like a religious girl. So I was just like, I don't think I don't want to do this because I feel like such a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
You've always like looked down at hypocrites, looked down at people who look one way and are another. And it made me nauseous. Like I never want to be that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was
So once you made those changes, kind of how did your life, once you made those like outside appearance changes and things, how did your actual life change to like what you doing now?
So a lot changed.
Mm-hmm.
I started to yeah become a lot less comfortable at my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to hang out with different types of people that I would hang out with before. I felt freer because I was like, I'm not hiding anything. I felt less of the hypocrisy. Also, it pushed me to move out of my parents' house because of the discomfort I was feeling. But I was okay with that because I knew that the discomfort was just pushing me to somewhere that's truer.
Mm-hmm.
It's pushing me along that road. So then I moved out of my parents' house to Crown Heights. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but it's more of like, it's also like a pretty Jewish area, but it's more like artsy and like creative and laid back in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I moved there and I I I jumped to a lot of different apartments. And basically I had like a lot of experiences there. I worked at a coffee shop and I partied and I just experimented with different like lifestyles and different things that I want. And it was really hard to be away from comfort, and like I didn't have really any sense of sorry, any sense of security, um, anything to fall back on, because like my parents like were really nice in the way that like I can always come home to them,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want to. Like I knew that wasn't the right thing. So if I'm gonna have to like carve out my own path, I'm gonna have to literally carve out with like all the pain and loneliness and depression and anxiety and everything. So yeah, I did that for I think almost 2 years.
Mm.
And I mean, I recently moved back to my parents' house because I grew a lot and in my self identity. And now I can be like that's okay if you want to wear skirts and not be triggered by it. Like that's okay if like you have this like lifestyle, because I don't. I know 100% that it doesn't work for me. And like before, the contrast of the self identity to before I was just like older people know better than me.
Mm.
And they're telling me how to live my life, they must know.
Mm-hmm.
And like I should be humble and like taking their advice, and my gut feeling probably doesn't know what it's talking about. So like the exact opposite of everything. And since then I've learned a lot about the fact that every community has its good parts and bad parts. And I've just learned about all the bad parts of my community,
Mm-hmm.
and about teachers and like authority figures, and about how they like to say things, because yeah, this is how it should be for everybody, because everybody's the same. Everybody has the same needs. Like obviously God said blah 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 blah. And um yeah, so I had to like extricate myself from that.
Yeah, Karan and I both grew up in different religious type environments as well. So while it wasn't Jewish or Orthodox for her, it was Catholic for you, right, Karan?
Yeah.
And I grew up like it was Christian Reformed. So we've gotten to learn some of those religious rules, and this is what you do if you want to be loved and go to heaven.
Okay, that's good to know. Well,
I actually do have a question. How has like your relationship with your faith changed, or what is it like today?
that's a really good question. Really loaded question. Um, so, I actually wrote a letter to my high school about that, and I basically told them that the way they taught the Torah, which is like the Jewish Bible, the way they taught it to me, and the way they taught me um, the rules they enforced, and the rules like they didn't enforce so much, like all of that gave me messages that were really unhealthy, and it like it made me think of God as somebody who's unhealthy.
Mm.
And it made me think of God like my high school principal.
Mm.
Like, hey, close your last button. Or like, you can't wear your hair down in school or whatever. And I told them that like I love God, and I know that I do. I feel that I do, and to I want to have like a connection, because like now that I'm going with my gut feeling and I'm listening to myself, like I understand that I like my spirituality is a big part of me, and I can't just live superficially, and like I need that connection. Um, but I told them they warped it for me. They ruined it for me. And like I don't even like to call him God anymore. Like I'm gonna say the universe or something, because and also there's the word Hashem, which is like what it's in Hebrew.
Mm.
Um, and that word for sure, like that word is like Hashem said do this, you better effing do that. Or else like don't you know what's gonna happen? And like they ingrained in me that God is so they say that his love is unconditional. The way they taught it, it's so conditional.
Mhm.
It's like insane that I didn't see it before. I
Mhm.
wasn't thinking for myself. I was like, yeah, his love is unconditional. Oh no, if I don't do this, he's gonna kill me.
Mhm.
Like, and now I just have to erase everything that I have to take it out of me like poison.
Mhm.
You know, it's poison for my spirituality, and I have to learn it by myself. And it's even harder now because I don't have a community now.
Mhm.
So I don't even like when I did have a community, there were speakers and authority figures and my family and people I could confide in. But now, like, they don't have the same values as me, and they don't necessarily know what it's like to be me. So now I just have myself, and my boyfriend is also he has a similar situation to me. Yeah, so we have ourselves at the moment.
Mhm.
And so yeah, they really screwed it up for me. And one day I will forgive them. But right now it's I'm not at that point in my journey.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, it's brave for you to be willing to take these steps and share your story. And in being willing to share your story, I bet you'll start having people speaking up to you and saying, I feel that same way. I feel like I'm living a life that's a lie to myself. You speak to what I've been feeling. And the more you share, the more your community will find you. So keep sharing and keep speaking, because I bet there's a lot more people, even in your community, that haven't been the
Right.
community you grew up in, that haven't been willing to embrace that because the fear.
Right. Thank
Mhm.
you. Yeah, I haven't like found them yet.
Keep
So
speaking.
Yeah.
They'll come.
You'll
yeah,
find them where you least expect it,
Mhm.
like in a course online, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you become Zoom friends, even though you've never met in real life, like me and Kristen.
Mhm.
oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. You'll start a podcast together about talking about your past. It'll be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, like when I moved out of my parents' house, I thought I would find the people who are like me,
Mhm.
but I found mostly older people who kind of became creepy,
Mm.
or became or were like older and then kind of snobby, like, oh, I'm older than you.
Mhm.
So yeah, I thought I found them, and then I realized I didn't.
Mhm.
I
Mm.
haven't had the best luck with people. I don't know. I'm such a nice person.
Well, and here's a good opportunity as well, to we call it the pirate code, but to get solid on what those people look like that you're calling in as well, to who you want to be there. So you're knowing what hasn't worked. So get down that code, of this is what I want. This is how people will behave, not behave, but this is how like we'll treat each other. This is how we show respect to each other,
Mhm.
or we honor each other's opinions, different things like that, that you get down, you get to get solid on that, so that you'll know when those people are there that these people are people I can bring in.
Mhm.
And sometimes, I mean, I've had my heart wide open where I'm like, everybody come in, and I've gotten hurt. So there are going to be some of those too. And those are where you get to learn the lessons and be like, oh, that one didn't fit my code. That let's mark this. So you're in a great fun spot. Go ahead, Kron.
Well, I remember this one time. This is kind of a like how nerdy is Quran story. I was out and about with like a group of, let's call them acquaintances, because I don't feel like they were real friends. And you know, when you're out and about, and we were at like a pub or a bar, and we had finished dinner, and everybody wanted to stay out drinking late at night. So a couple of things you need to know about me. I don't stay up late and I don't really drink very much. So I ended up leaving them, taking a cab back to where I was staying by myself. And I spent the evening writing out my values, which seems like a really nerdy thing to say, but I just had this realization that, like you said, I was not with my people, that I was not happy in that situation. And I needed to figure out like me and what exactly I was looking for, who would be my people and what would be the situation that I was looking for. And I know that it wasn't being out late, drinking, doing all those sort of things. I knew right there that those didn't align with my values. So I really had to figure out what did. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of the start of a lot of big changes I made in my life, from my job to the people I spend my time with, to find out what did align with what I want. So while my friends were out drinking, I sat down and wrote out my values and it worked.
Well, I can't call that nerdy because then I would be nerdy too. I've definitely done that before. That's yeah.
So what other stuff are you up to these days?
So yeah, I was actually thinking about that when you said job. I was like, oh right. So basically, another thing that is different, and I want it to be different, is the job situation. So the norm in the community I grew up in is a physical therapist or a teacher or a social worker, which is all great things, but but it's not for me. So I never really felt like, when I was in high school and I was looking, I was thinking about out of high school, I never felt like, oh, I'm gonna find the best thing for me. I just felt like this pit in my stomach, like, ugh, what should I settle with? Like, because I'm gonna need to make money, so like, what should I settle with? And then and also like nobody really like worked in coffee shops either, because like it's not modest for girls to work in coffee shops, because then they have to talk to boys too, which is crazy. Yeah. So messed up. So basically, and then yeah, so when I left, I started working in a coffee shop, but obviously I knew like that's not what I want to do for the rest of my life, because I have, well, it's not obvious, but it's obvious to me because I know that I have like talents within me, and like I've always felt it, but I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get back to the job thing.
Okay.
Basically, I sing. I write songs and play guitar and piano, and that's some of my creative outlets. So I always wanted to go on America's Got Talent, like since I was like 9 or 10 or something. And so you can imagine like what that was like for me, because I watched the YouTube videos at the library, and I was like enamored. I was like, oh my God, they thing, and then they can just go on that stage and like have approval and have recognition, and like everyone sees how awesome they are. Like I'm awesome, but like nobody sees because nobody values singing and the things that I value in my life. So like for me, that would have been like breaking free, like a complete break free. And I told my mom, and she was like, she was nicer than I thought she would be. She wasn't like, no, how dare you? She was like, I totally understand why you would want to do that, but you just can't. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we just, girls don't sing in front of men, and you can't sing on Shabbat, which is Saturdays. Can't like use electricity. Then like I really feel for you, Shayna, but like you really just can't. Like, there's no way we can make it happen. And so, I mean, I think I kind of took it like oh, obviously, because like I didn't really think she was gonna let me do it, but it was also like a big part of my childhood. It was like I want to get out there. I want to be myself wherever I want, and I can't. So yeah, that was also a big part of like that like gave me the message, and it flavored my life in a way that like there are big things out there if you weren't Jewish. And there are cool things you could do, and you have a lot of talent in you. And if you weren't Jewish, you could really make that happen. So like, ugh, that was really painful. And so now I'm not on America's Got Talent presently, but maybe in a couple years or something. But right now I did figure out what makes me happy and can make me money too. And that's, I'm actually an organizer, professional organizer. So yeah, I know one, it doesn't have to do with the other, but it does in a way, because it's like entrepreneurial. Is that the word?
Yeah.
And yeah, and like that's not super common in my community. And so yeah, so now I'm starting my own business, and um like there's a lot of aspects to professional organizing, and I could say some aspects it's just like that doesn't necessarily connect to what I was saying before, if that's okay. Okay, so yeah, I guess it's all just about like me like figuring things out. But so another thing that was like that I grew up with was like, yeah, so like femininity wasn't a value, and like expressing your sexuality was the, the opposite of a value. And um, like excuse me, physical creature comforts were also not so much of a value. Like they were, but like frowned upon a little bit, like that religious weird mix. At least the way I grew up. So yeah, so then when I started to have therapy after I like fell into depression when I graduated high school. And I had a lot of therapy, like a lot of different types also. There's like IFS, DBT, CBT, like different types. And I learned about self-care, and that also changed my life because I like learned how to honor myself and my needs. So how that connects to organizing is that now that that's the lifestyle I have, which is like wear what makes you happy and cherish the clothes that make you happy because they like they honor what you're trying to express and things like that. So like let's say I'm organizing my room. I just moved back to my parents' house. So I reorganized the bedroom and I created like a little vanity for myself. Like I put like there's like a small desk and I put like my large mirror on top. Doesn't necessarily fit, but it's fine. Like it works without me spending like $200. Um, and like let's say that it like I get to like create different spaces and rooms that honor like rituals
Mm.
and like self-care rituals. So like let's say like for the vanity of like putting on my makeup, and it's not just like I put on my makeup, it's like I enjoy it and like it it makes me feel good, and that's the only reason I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to put all of my cute little makeup stuff there, little towel, and like my little like bowl of water, and like do my makeup and put on music and like and I'm like so proud of myself for that because it's just so enjoyable. Or like let's say like having like a bath or something. That can also be a ritual. And you can like set up like a little stand there for all like your cute, pretty, fragrancy things that make you feel good in the bath. Like that's like a big part of organizing to me is like honoring your routine and your rituals. So, and that like kind of just fits into like my whole what I learned through my self growth.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like also just taking some control back of your space and not just living how someone else says you should live, right? Like you get to create and design, like you design your space and then it goes on from there that you get to design your whole life for yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So where can our listeners go to find out more about you and more about what you're doing?
So I have Instagram and I post like organizing material and also singing material, which is a little bit of a mix, but whatever. I also have a blog that I post like every month or so, but it has like a lot of interesting articles. Um, I don't really know how to. I only know by like sharing a link.
Okay. Well, we can
Mhm.
put that in the show notes.
Okay.
What's
So
your Instagram?
At Yafa3717.
Cool.
So it's YAFFA. What else? Yeah, I have TikTok and Facebook, but they're just like it's the same thing as Instagram. So
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
Yeah.
thank you.
So you share your music on Instagram and then Facebook and TikTok? Was it, or is it on your blog too?
So my blog is just for articles.
Okay. I didn't see music there, so I
Right. So it's the Instagram is the like more media kind of materials.
okay.
I show like before and after of organizing and things like that.
Nice. Well, we have one last question for you, and that is how would you recommend that our listeners start their own pirate journey? So that could be anything from what actions you recommend they take, or yeah, is it organize their life? What recommend sorry, I just said my what recommendation do you have?
Um hmm. And like I'm overthinking a little bit and wondering which who I'm talking to a little bit. Like
Just anyone who wants to take control of their life, like you did.
right.
Like how should they get started?
So I think that you just have to open your mind a little bit to being like it looks like that life can only be one way,
Mm.
but really, really it doesn't have to be. And the the only way I'm gonna find out is if I open myself up to it
Mm.
and just have that mindset, and then you'll start seeing things that you didn't see before, seeing opportunities that you didn't see before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great advice. And yeah, thank you so much for reaching out and chatting with us today. We had a great time learning about you and what brought you to where you are today. And we're excited to see where your journey goes from here as well. So
Thank you
keep
so
us up to
much.
date.
I really appreciate it.